Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Merrillville Town Council meeting for today, Tuesday, September 10th, 2024 at 6:30. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for our invocation.
I'll just stay up here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Well, God, our Father, we thank you for the privilege tonight of meeting together. Father, our prayer goes out for the wisdom and knowledge that we all seek. We pray that you would place that wisdom and knowledge upon those who lead this community. Father, we see their hearts. We understand their passion to make this a great community of families. So, Father, that's our prayer. We pause to say thank you for the protection you continue to provide and the wisdom and the guidance you provide for our children and families. Thank you, Lord, for all these things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you all. Please be seated. Mr. January, would you do the roll call of the council, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Here.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Present.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Present.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Present.
Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Here.
President Bella.
Here.
All present. 7.
All present, thank you. Moving on tonight to petitions, communications, acknowledgements, and remonstrations. I would like to ask for a motion tonight to use the amended agenda at your place setting. We had to add 2 of the ordinances from Mr. Pettit's committee, so Sean,
So
would you make
moved.
that?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mrs. Neal, to use the amended agenda that was at our place setting. Questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on tonight to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable register voucher approval for September 10th, the AP register summary for ARP purchases for September 10th, and the approval of the town council meeting minutes of August 27th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, with a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of the consent agenda as submitted. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on tonight to standing committee reports, budget and finance. Vice President Neal.
Well, we're in a budget season, President Bella, right now, and just kind of really busy doing a lot of work, but no additional updates at this time.
Thank you. Council Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, we had a committee meeting last week. There are several ordinances on the agenda tonight that the committee passed in a favorable recommendation 2-0. Also, last night, we had our first Data Center Advisory Committee meeting with the representatives that were selected. You had put this committee together. As everyone at the meeting last night heard, there are basically 2 locations that are being researched for potential data centers. One is the 96 acres in a Merrillville at the Crossroads and back of Pinnacle Hospital that is owned by the Misner Group. It's currently zoned CSI as a part of that certified technology park. The other is a piece of property that the Plan Commission, Mrs. Uselak and Mrs. Chandler Felton and I saw at the Plan Commission. We gave a favorable recommendation to rezone that property on 101st Avenue east of Deep River with Karis Development. Mr. Anderson is in the audience, as well as Mr. Thompson and Representatives Brett from Karis Development. We'll entertain that later on. We also had Mr. Griffin put together, is it 2 ordinances, Michael?
Yeah.
Several.
Several.
They're in my report, as a matter of fact.
They're in your report. So we also reviewed those. Joe has looked at those, and I think everything is in line, Mr. Svetnoff?
Correct.
Okay, so we will take those up later on, Mr. President.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you, Sean. Street Department, Mrs. Uselak.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Yes, the street department is still picking up branches until the end of the month. And they are doing the parks with the mowing and anything that has to be done in the parks. They have taken over that. And they are also seal coating cracks on Merrillville Road at this time. Mr. Keene, do you have anything else to offer?
Just to reiterate what you said, Councilwoman Uselak, we are picking up branches till September 30th, at which time we have to switch over to our leaf back operations. We've also got some CDL training we're working on with some of our employees. So that's September 30th. It's posted in the newsletter. It's posted on the website. That'll be our last day for branch pickup. We do continue to maintain the parks. One thing I want to mention, I got a call from Mr. Jackson, who's the athletic director at MIS. He had some concerns about the trail in the back of Prusen Park. There's a section of it's a rubberized surface. We noticed when we took over the maintenance, it's in desperate need of repair. I explained this to the gentleman, that we didn't have a timetable at the time because this was just brought to our attention. So hopefully with part of the paving contract that we're going to be doing, it's a small section, and maybe less than 1,000 feet long. We can get that paved and safed up. Right now, it's closed, so, but they use that for their cross-country meets. Unfortunately, they're not gonna be able to do that, this year because of the condition of that pathway. That's all I got for right now. That's all I
Mrs.
can think
Uselak?
of.
Thank you.
You brought up branch pickup, and so did Steve tonight. We need to discuss that probably through the ordinance committee, because we're picking up truckloads of branches at residents' homes. That's not what the program's designed for.
Yes.
It's supposed to be when someone has a storm and they cut a few branches, we'll pick them up, not to clear out properties and then have the town pick up all the branches. So we're going to have to address that, Mr. Pettit.
Well, we're also going to have to
Limit-
address,
limit how
Mr.
much-
President, as Councilwoman Uselak has encountered, unfortunately, at 73rd and Whitcomb with the townhomes and the debris,
Trash, yeah.
Right.
you know, outside of the waste management contract. Do we want to, and I don't know if we can afford it, do we want to have, Steve, a contractual company that's going to go through town outside of Public Works and just to keep the town clean? I mean, Marty, you've got all kinds, there's furniture, I've driven 73rd Avenue, there's carpet, there's
Yeah.
furniture, there's all kinds of stuff that Waste Management isn't picking up.
It's a weekly thing. We pick up stuff there weekly.
Yep.
It's a constant battle between, that and the garbage alongside the roads and the I Buy Houses signs that
Yep.
we pull up hundreds of them a week, and now we're finding them on utility poles in the subdivisions and taking them down. It's very tasking on our.
And I just
staff.
gave Steve one on Georgia Street in front of Midwest Tire and Auto. Huge 250,000 square foot building, huge bag of trash on the curb line at Georgia. I don't understand it. I really don't. People just throw stuff out. I get calls in the Panhandle. People will throw garbage out and they'll undo the garbage and it's from out-of-state mail. There's out-of-state stuff in these garbage out on 93rd and 97th Avenues.
Well, I have reported that last week, if you remember the last meeting, and I've been getting calls from people that don't even live in the Fourth Ward. They're driving 73rd Avenue, and the garbage is laying in the street
Yeah.
now, so.
We pick it up almost every
I don't know if
day.
Waste Management is supposed to do something about this, or do we have to do something?
Mr. Griffin, let's add these two topics to our next workshop agenda, please, so we can dig into this and come up with some solutions.
Mr. President, I have a running sort of
Okay.
pre-review agenda, and I'll put them there.
I only brought it up because Steve shared some photographs that showed properties from
Yeah.
property line to property line full of branches, 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
That, I don't know how many truckloads that was for us, but
Well, we won't pick those up. We don't, because a lot of those, what I showed the pictures, we went over there, looked at them, there's dirt, there's garbage in there, there's logs, and it's just things that we're not equipped to pick up.
okay, we need to help educate the residents.
I was gonna say,
What
are
we're
we
gonna take.
letting the residents know that they're not gonna be available to be?
It's in every
picked up?
newsletter and it's posted on the website, so
Yeah.
we just have to
It's
keep,
there.
we just have to keep reminding them.
We're just, the town, this is, the town is consistently getting taken advantage of by this program. I think we talked about this last year too. We had a lot of issues with it last year.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Uselak.
Thank you.
Moving on to elections, public relations, and town beautification, Vice President Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We did not have a meeting this past Monday. We will resume our normally scheduled meetings, but I do not have an update as far as the gateway signs. We're waiting for pricing. That was the next step in the process,
Okay.
waiting for pricing.
Thank you.
And that's all.
Environmental Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
Matt is I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. Personnel Policy and Employee Benefits, Ms. Hardaway.
At this time, no report.
Public Safety, Ms. Hardaway.
At this time, no report.
Econo-
I'm sorry, can I go back and revisit that?
No, I'm sorry.
Your time has passed.
Chief Nucis, I know you did a press release. Can you please, just put it on record, just talk about that a little bit?
Sure, do you want me to talk about it now? I was going to do it when I was going to give my report, if you're okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So no report.
Thank you.
Report deferred.
Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
We will tackle the zone change, which obviously we heard last night has dramatic economic impact on the potential on the town of Merrillville. So we can discuss that if we need to in the zone change ordinance. That's all.
Utility Liaison,
No report at this time, President Bell.
Parks, Dean and Barbara White Community Center. Mr. Pettit.
Mr. Griffin, is there anything before we have our next meeting at the end of September? I know we're in the process of doing the HVAC audit with IMEG and Circle R, and
Counselor Pettit, nothing that would rise to the level of a report status, or just operational matters with which we contend each day, but nothing that rises to the level of a policy instruction.
thank you.
Abandoned and Blighted Properties, Councilwoman Shi.
Nothing to report at this time, Mr. President.
What about your next committee?
He don't even want to try it. I know, he's not even going to say it. There is nothing to report for the semi-quincentennial committee, Mr. Bella.
Thank you. Special Town Projects, Mrs. Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We have our trunk or treat that we're planning for October 24th at the Dean and Barbara Community Center. It will be held from 5:30 to 7:30. You can find information on our website about it. We're still taking sign-ups for that, so cars can participate and decorate. We do have a lot of different functions and activities going on during those 2 hours. Also, October 31st is our regular town trick or treat, which will also be held from the hours of 5:30 to 7:30.
Very
And
good.
that is all.
Thank you. Mrs. Neal, do you want to report on the Lake County Solid Waste Management District, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, President Bella. On September 21st, the next hazardous waste collection will be held in Hammond at 601 Conackey Street, and they will also be accepting shredding of paper. The amount that they will accept is 4 paper bags full per resident. So along with the hazardous waste, you can also bring paper in for shredding, and that's on September the 21st. And the next meeting will, what month is this? September. The next meeting is coming up next week. So I'll be in the next meeting next week.
Great, thank
And
you.
that's all. Thank you.
Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, Ms. Hardaway.
Their meeting will be next week, next Thursday.
All right. Fire Territory Board, Mrs. Neal and Ms. Hardaway.
No report from me.
Moving on to department reports, Police Chief Nucis.
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. So I know the hot topic has been this illegal, undocumented migrant debacle, I guess we'll call it. It all started, it really gained a lot of attention when they had that incident that occurred in Lowell, where there was a young girl that was actually hurt in the process by an illegal migrant. So what I want to do is I kind of wanted to give everybody a backdrop of the story, or our story, and how it's all been going, and since when did it start? So I'll start off with, in May of this year, we started noticing an influx of homelessness. Upon further inspection, we discovered that a lot of these people were actually illegal immigrants. Started off with about 5 to 8 that we knew of. Being that it was a problem we never had before, I reached out to ICE, which is Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They did not have a solution for me at the time. I spent pretty much all day on the phone trying to get some type of remedy or immediate remedy, and they didn't have anything to offer. Our police commission attorney also reached out downstate to try to get us some answers, and we got nothing. Nothing in the sense that we could take any type of immediate action. So I started sending off emails to the council, and the council's been aware of this, and we've been keeping in contact and letting them know what's been going on with this. Sometime in late May, early June, we started experiencing a rash of break-ins in the cars, and we were able to catch one of the suspects. Now, did he do them all? I can't say, but we were able to confirm that he was an illegal alien, or an illegal migrant. So when this happened, we started trying to figure out what can we do. Is there anything that we have? Is there any type of solution? What can we do at this point? I tried getting on the horn again with several of the federal agencies, and nobody wanted to do anything about it. There was no option that they can give us once again. I then reached out to the sheriff's department. I spoke with the sheriff. And that's one person that I want to give a shout out to. He's offered us temporary solutions for now, but it's limited, and I'll get back to that. We went as far as to trying to talk to everybody. Also, town manager Griffin, Mr. Griffin, thank you for that. He assisted me as well. We spoke with state representatives. We spoke with federal agencies. And once again, they did have something to offer us, but it wasn't an immediate solution. At this point, we probably have about 10 to 13 that we know of, 10 to 13 illegal migrants living in the town. So I'm gonna address it like this. Do we have them here? Yes. Are they currently a problem? No. Is there a potential to be a problem? Maybe. Is there any type of safety issue, or is there anything that we should be concerned about for the public safety? Not at this time. We're going to continue to work on this and try to figure out a solution. As I said, we're going to go back. I spoke with the sheriff numerous times, and we're going to go back and start enforcing our local ordinances, our local laws. But there is state law that prohibits them from being in jail for X amount of hours. They can only be in jail for X amount of hours, and then the sheriff has to release them unless it's some type of a violent crime, the way that was explained to us. The agent that we spoke with from the federal agency was from ICE. He said the same thing. There's really not much that we can do as far as immediate action, as far as deporting them, or as far as taking them into custody, unless they've committed some type of a violent crime. So this is where we're at. One of the things I wanted to address, all these pictures and videos and everything that have been popping up on social media, I'm going to go out and say that 99.9% of them have been doctored, or there's a false narrative on them. A lot of the buses that we are seeing are the buses that are occupied by legal migrants that are here on work visas. And this has been happening for the past 20 plus years. We've never had any issues with them. They come and do all the summer work. And as I've gone out to say that, without them, we're not going to get fresh fruit, fresh vegetables that we're accustomed to getting. It's not going to happen. We need them here, right? We've never had any problems with them. To go even further on that, we've had more problems with carnival workers that come in for the season for Lake County Fair and whatnot than we've had with these migrants. So these buses that are parked at the hotels that people are seeing, that people are taking pictures of, they're not the buses that everybody believes is bringing in these illegal migrants. Are there buses? Probably. I just haven't confirmed it yet. I haven't been able to verify it. And if they are doing it, they're dropping them off and they're leaving. And we are coming up with a plan that if we do catch somebody doing something like that, we're going to work on impounding their bus, or we're going to figure something out. But it's not as big as a problem as people are making it out to be. This website, CIS.org, is part of the problem. I don't know how many have seen it, but it's showing that Lake County is a sanctuary county. That's not correct. To make matters worse, there's an actual legend symbol that sits and represents Lake County, and they got it right on top of Merrillville. So this was something that was brought up to the Attorney General's office, and we've requested that they actually do something about it. Where they're at, I don't know. But this is all above everybody's pay grade. This lies in the upper echelon of the executive branch of government. This is who's going to be the only one that's going to be able to fix this mess for us at this point. But once again, we take pride in making sure that everybody stays safe. If there is any type of concern, we will address it. We will announce it. If we feel that somebody's in danger, or if we feel things get out of control, which they're not even remotely close to being that, we're going to address it. We're going to make sure that everybody is safe in town. But till then, that's all I really have on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. Shine, Planning and Building.
No report at this time.
Mr. King, anything else to add from Street Department? No. Mr. Griffin.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the council, Mr. January as Clerk Treasurer, I filed with you the report of the town manager for the month of September. If you have a question about something specific in that, I'll be happy to address it, but I think that it speaks better than I do for my report. I was asked by Councilwoman Shi to, see, I'm doing better now, to remind you of two matters. I've been tasked with being the timekeeper, so when that portion of the agenda is reached with regard to public comment, I will try to remember to get the clock and run the clock for you. You're able to waive the time, but the time will be reminded of the 3-minute limitation that's in our ordinance by a noise. It's apparently an alarm, so I'll learn that with you tonight. And I also want to call your attention to the fact that Councilwoman Shi has provided, on behalf of the entire town council in the town of Merrillville, a suggestion box, to which I have the key. The suggestion box actually invites people. So this evening, I've been asked by Councilwoman Shi to invite you, if you wish to not offer a comment in public, perhaps you're shy, but your idea is really stirring you, and you want to share it, you're more than welcome to fill out a card to place it in the box. If you wish to be anonymous, that's all right. The key is not the author, the key is the idea. And we want you to be welcome to that. We know it's a relatively new idea, so I'll probably have to remind people in the coming meetings for a time. But I wanted to make you aware of that this evening, and with your help, I'll try to remember to remind everyone else. Other than that, Mr. President, unless there's a question of me, I'll be pleased to be seated.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
I thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. January asked for a moment also for a report.
Sure.
Derek?
Just wanted to share a few things. Cash balance for the town in all of them fund balances was $33,708,442.21 at the end of the year. The food and beverage tax, well, transparency is what I worked out. So the food and beverage tax for the month of July, we received a check on the 5th of $87,186.60. Good news is $75,061.86 was for the month of July. We're still getting people from the previous months, but our total food and beverage tax receipts for the entire year is $425,725.24. We have, from a period that preceded me and the predecessor, Kelly, there was an IRS refund that we received that is huge. And I am investigating it, but we are depositing the check because it's well outside of the statute of limitations. With the IRS, if you make a mistake, you have basically 3 years in order to collect it. This is from an era from September, the third quarter of 2019. So I'm depositing the check. I'm almost thinking about not saying anything so we can keep the money in case they made a mistake. But I will.
That's your job.
Right.
What's the amount, Mr. January?
Yeah, $376,059.11. Right.
Okay.
Right. So we can certainly use that money. And then finally, the positive pay system that we have. Any business person, this is just one of the best things that you can get with your organization. We have positive pay. If a check is not recognized by us, it doesn't get, if it gets cashed by the bank has to pay for it. And this month, again, we caught another fraudulent check that was written out to WEX, the people that we use to pay our gas, for $31,074.32. So we caught it
before, hasn't it, with WEX?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's somebody in their processing department at WEX or whatever, but we are going through the process with Sincere to figure out how this is happening, but with positive pay, we're catching it every single time.
That's good.
Right. So, and that is basically the conclusion of my report. I'm hoping we'll be able to keep that $376,000.
I hope to.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to general orders, we have first reading ordinances. Ordinance 24-32, it's an ordinance of the town of Merrillville to revise the Merrillville Code to include provisions to allow payments in advance of council, board, and commission allowance, all pursuant to Indiana codes.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit, seconded by Mrs. Uselak for approval on first reading, ordinance 24-32.
Mr. President, I will ask Mr. Griffin to give a brief synopsis of this from the Council Affairs Committee meeting. Michael?
Mr. Chairman, Councilor Pettit, Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. January, thank you. This ordinance actually is just a small revision of an existing ordinance that you've had in place that allowed for pursuant to 36-5-4-12, which allows for the prepayment of certain items of business. There's a list of 12, and then there's also a provision in that statute in Indiana law that allows for us to have by ordinance things that are paid in advance. This is a lessening of controls, but it's ordinary kinds of things like registrations to go to a conference and the like. It includes payroll, which is paid in advance of the 2 meetings a month we have because of your ordinance that establishes a biweekly pay period. This isn't really a big change of policy, Mr. President, members of the council. This is essentially a refinement of an existing policy and an attempt to get it in the code because our current ordinance is not in the code. This is one of 5 ordinances that are before you this evening that came from Council Affairs. This ordinance 2434, 35, 36, and 37, all were taken up at Council Affairs as well and are before you because of that. And I'm pleased to be seated. I know you wanted a short presentation. I apologize, that went a little long.
That's fine, Michael.
That wasn't too bad for you, Michael.
For me.
Any other discussion from the council? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella,
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 24-33. It's an ordinance of the town of Merrillville providing that the zoning ordinance, town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, be amended by changing the established A1 agricultural zone classification to CIS, Commercial Industrial Special District Zone classification.
Mr. President?
Mr. Griffin.
Thank you. I beg your pardon. I'm going to ask if you would consult with the town attorney to render an opinion regarding this ordinance. As you know, our agenda is governed currently by our code, our municipal code. This is actually a zoning ordinance that pursuant to Indiana law and the opinion I think you'll get from Mr. Svetnoff this evening, this does not have to be a first reading matter. It can actually be perfected by a vote this evening of a majority of the council. But I do think it would be appropriate, if you don't mind, for having the town attorney to render an opinion to that effect before the council fully considers this. And I apologize to you that we didn't have another place to place it on your agenda at this time.
And I believe you and I talked about amending our agenda to allow such matters to have its own
Yes, it's
title.
on my list of to-dos.
Okay. Mr. Svetnoff.
Under Indiana Code 36-5-9.8, zoning changes such as these, amendment to zoning changes, only allow 1 reading instead of 2. So at this time, I would caution the council to go ahead and take this matter under 1 reading instead of 2. Again, it's well-settled ordinance and well-settled law on the subject. So at this time, I encourage the council to take
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 24-33 with 1 comment.
I don't have that.
Motion by Mr. Pettit,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Uselak. Mr. Pettit.
One other item I think Joe alluded to with me, I know, in that, and Marge is president of the Plan Commission, the actual advertised public hearing on zone changes takes place at the Plan Commission.
Correct.
That's why these are only 1 reading ordinances. We've already conducted the public hearing at the Plan Commission. They sent out the notices. We did have several people come to that Plan Commission meeting. So that's kind of the onus of this, correct, Joe, that we only do one reading here?
Correct, and I think that's why the law was passed in the beginning, was that we advertise and we take public comment at the plan commission, so at the town council level, we're able to pass this in one reading.
And this is also, this zone change again is for the 180-plus acres east of Deep River on the north side of 101st Avenue for a potential, that's the key word, a potential data center that we discussed in length last night at your advisory committee, Mr. President.
That's correct. Any other discussion from the council?
Mr. President, I just wanted to add, although I'm pretty certain that I won't have to vote on this because it'll probably be unanimous, that we're going to pass this. If I had to vote on it, I would 100% vote for it because this is true economic development. It's going to bring the tremendous amount, it can potentially bring a tremendous amount of money into the town, and it's not going to challenge us in any way fiscally. So I would 100% support it. But this is true economic development. It's bringing in new wealth.
January, would you call the roll then, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Mr. Anderson, thank you. Moving on tonight to ordinance 24-34. It's an ordinance of the town of Merrillville this is to allow tax increment revenue bond series 2024 for the Boys and Girls Club of Northwest Indiana project, including bond anticipation notes and approving and authorizing other actions.
So move, Mr. President.
Motion by Mr. Pettit,
Second.
second by Ms. Hardaway. I have a question. Mr. Pettit, how is this different from last time we voted on?
This is, we decided to, upon legal advice from council after this ordinance failed at a 3-2-1 vote, it was recommended that it be sent back to committee, back to council affairs. It was reviewed. Again, the only change from when this passed on first reading by a vote of 7-0 is the bond council put in a February 1st payment date of the proceeds, same that we're going to do with Andrean. And because the TIF allocation that Mr. January and Mr. Griffin will pick up usually comes in January, no pun intended, we get them in January and July, right, Eric?
Yes.
Yeah, so Tom thought it would be best if we made a February 1st deadline. That's the only change. It's still the same $200,000 a year for 10 years to go into a fund to be coupled with other donations that they will be receiving. So,
Any other discussion from the council?
So you're saying the only thing that failed, when it failed the last time, it was just because of the bond issue?
I can't speak, Shauna, as to why people voted no or
No, I
voted,
thought that's what you were saying, the only difference this time around.
well, no, that was in there as well.
Okay.
I mean, the ordinance itself from 2 weeks ago has not changed one bit. It was recommended by Joe that we take it back through Council Affairs Committee as an ordinance. It has to, whenever, Joe, do you want to elaborate on that? If an ordinance fails to receive a
Certainly,
positive vote?
When an ordinance fails, if we want to bring it back up, it has to go through Council Affairs Committee, it has to go through 2 readings, except if it's approved on 1 reading, which is highly unusual. So at this time, what we're doing is we're approving it on 1 reading right now. We'll have it back on 2 weeks for the 2nd reading, but we're just going through the proper process.
So,
Mr. January?
Mr. President, so first of all, I don't think this should actually be on here. And Attorney, I think that you're being biased by putting this back on the agenda because we defeated it and the town has got, this is not economic development. Unlike the thing that we just passed, 24-33, that's without a shadow of a doubt going to benefit the town. This, we have a community center that is completely underutilized. completely underutilized. And we want to propose to give away $200,000 to an organization that is richer than the town of Merrillville. This is absolutely not a priority, and we should not be voting in favor of this. So anybody,
They're not richer than the town of Merrillville, so let's.
oh, they certainly are. I mean, our budget is small compared to the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay. All right.
It's over $100 million the last time I looked at it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Let's vote it up or down, Mr. January.
All right, 2434. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
No.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Nay.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
5 in favor, 2 opposed.
5-2, the motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 24-35, ordinance of the town of Merrillville, chapter 7.5 entitled Fire and Hazardous Materials Safety, to provide for the establishment of relationship with single-point repository service companies and repealing all town code sections and ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Counselor Shi, I believe.
Yes.
Mr. Svetnov, what are we doing here on this ordinance?
The ordinance was suggested by the fire inspector to amend our prior ordinance on hazardous material safety. This amending ordinance is altering the fire inspection reporting that the town has in coordination with fire and hazardous material safety. So at the end of the day, Your Honor, or I should say, Mr. President.
Your Honor.
No, I'm in my court mode right now. But at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to make sure there's more accurate reporting that goes on here.
Okay.
And I'm sure Chief Yerga can speak to that if you need him to.
Any questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 24-36, ordinance amending the town code, chapter 7.5, entitled Fire and Hazardous Materials Safety, to establish a Knox box keyed system.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 24-36 for discussion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Counselor Neal, for approval of ordinance 24-36. I have one question, too. We should explain what a Knox box is. Chief, would you
Chief, you
approach
want to
the podium, please?
give us a thumbnail?
Sure. We actually already have a Knox box ordinance. This just expounds on it to companies that have certain hazardous materials. A Knox box system, Knox is a company that provides a single keyed box. So if you ever see the little 3-inch by 3-inch box, a little reflector on it by the entrance to most restaurants or most businesses in town, the fire department holds this single key that's keyed specifically for all the businesses in Merrillville, which allows us to go in after hours if there's an alarm or a water flow alarm, especially if there's a sprinkler head busted, we can go in, stop the problem, stop the damage without breaking doors down like we used to do. So that's the gist of it. The average business, I think it costs them maybe $300 to $500 to install it, but in the long run, obviously, it's a savings for them in case we would ever have to come out and make entry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7-0, motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 24-37. Ordinance entitled Prohibition 7.5, 133, entitled Enforcement, and 7.5-134, entitled Penalties, and repealing all town code sections and ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Motion to approve, Mr. President, for discussion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, seconded by Counselor Shi, for approval. Open for discussion.
Mr. President, at the Council Affairs Committee, Inspector Pillman and Joe and Ricardo were there. This is really, Joe, for the hotels. And I guess I need to go back to COSTA, Chief, your report on the immigrants. And Ed knows this. In the past, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a problem with some of the hotels with, there was an incident Ed and Sheila went into where they had knocked out walls in Deluxe Inn. And people were living in one room and cooking and doing who knows what in the other room.
They made condos.
They make them condos. So I think, Joe, if I'm not mistaken, or Ed, this talks about the occupancy and the stay and gives Bob more teeth when he's going to inspect these units, correct?
Correct. It specifically goes to prohibitions, tighter enforcement on prohibitions, enforcement and penalties for occupancy limits, cooking and storage for hotels and motels.
And we did have a problem, for the benefit of the new counselors. We did have a problem, how many years ago, Joe, when you sent out letters to all the hotel operators in town?
That was about 5 years ago, where we had supposed bad actors come in. We counseled them on not only the violations of current ordinance, but on human trafficking and things along those lines. So I'd be glad to host that again if need be. But at the end of the day, we need to solve this problem currently. And this is a way for Chief Yurga and his fire inspector to go ahead and solve that.
Great. Other questions, comments? Council?
Yes, okay, so you said you will host it again for the hotel owners?
I can certainly, if the town council works with us on that. I can
I'm sure
certainly-
they have new ownership. Some of them probably have new ownership.
Well,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, with the hotel motels, they can transfer ownership very quickly. So I'm sure that most of the bad actors that we consulted before are probably new owners now, probably need to be re-educated on this. So we can certainly go ahead and do that.
Yes.
If the town council gives authorization to do that.
Yep.
Anything else, councilors?
Nope.
Hearing nothing else, Mr. January, would you call the roll, please?
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
Mr. President, on the heels of that ordinance, I would like to make a motion to instruct Joe to host the hotel owners and provide them with a copy of this new ordinance. Joe, if you seem appropriate, obviously, Chief Costa and Chief Yurga and Mr. Griffin probably should be in attendance at that, I would recommend.
Certainly, and maybe with an additional edict that we go ahead and we educate these new property owners on the new ordinance and kind of bring them in for a face. It's easy to send out a letter, but it's much harder to confront us face to face and say, we have a problem, here's the problem, and how are you going to solve it?
And obviously, Mr. Pillman, since he's doing the inspections, should be at that meeting as well.
Oh, no, Chief Yurga and Fire Inspector Pillman should be at that. But what we can do, though, is we can educate them on the law, and make sure there's no violation, or if there is a violation, they're gonna pay a hefty price.
Yep.
So, but that will take some time. We have to get new owner information and go about this the correct way, to make sure that we put all these new owners on notice that that there's a change in the ordinance, that not only changing the ordinance, but there's going to be strict enforcement of it,
Very good. Thank you, Joe.
certainly.
Moving on-
Do we need to second it, or he?
Yeah, I don't know if I heard a second, Mr.
Did you
President.
make
We
a
didn't get-
motion?
I made a
He
motion
did.
to instruct Joe
We
to
made a
do
motion.
that, just
All right.
for the public record.
I second.
Why don't you withdraw your motion, and we'll just instruct Joe at this time to do that. I don't think we need a motion.
Okay, withdrawn.
Is that okay, councilors? Okay. Moving on to ordinance 24-38. It's a joint ordinance of the town of Merrillville, Indiana, and a resolution of the Township Board of Ross Township, Lake County, authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds of said town and appropriating the proceeds of the same for the purpose of providing funds to be used for the cost of renovating the Merrillville Fire Protection Territories North Station, the construction of a storage facility, new fire truck, and other items. And if you don't mind, Chief Yurga, would you approach the podium one last time and give us a rundown on what we're doing and why?
Sure. The main purpose of this bond was for the renovation of the North Fire Station. We're almost complete, getting ready to go out for bid, probably within the next 3 to 4 weeks. We will be having a territory board meeting, by the way, we'll schedule one within 3 to 4 weeks to talk about this. But we are to the point the design's complete. It's estimated at $2.4 million, and that project is solely to staff the North Fire Station so we can get a staffed 24-hour-a-day engine at the north of the tracks. Storage facility is a storage facility that's going to be going behind Station 71, right here on 73rd Avenue. It's also a firefighter wellness building. They're going to have a gym and some other amenities in there to promote firefighter wellness and health. And we already purchased, we did a reimbursement ordinance, our resolution through the Territory Board. We purchased our new self-contained breathing apparatus. We had to do it early before the bond funds got here because of a huge savings. So we did that, and we've taken the proper steps to get reimbursed once the bond gets here. And then the fire truck was just if there's anything left in that bond to put towards the aerial truck that we've committed to purchase already, the $2.6 million aerial truck.
Thank you, Chief. Trista, how are we going to pay for it?
As you know, the Fire Equipment Fund is the second fund that the main fund the fire department uses. It receives a separate property tax. It really is the CCD fund of the fire department, so it can be used for equipment. The tax rate is .0333 set per statute. It's at the max. That property levy raised from that separate tax and that separate fund will pay the bond payments, just like their prior bond had, which was paid off last year. Yeah, last year. There are no funds from the town side that are being contributed or pledged to pay for that.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
A motion to approve ordinance 24-38, sorry.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Neal with a second by Counselor Shi for approval of ordinance 24-38. Questions or comments from the council?
One of the things that I will caution,
January.
President Bella, is that I caution, we're obligating ourselves to a number of things. I'm not saying anything about this particular project, but with the Boys and Girls Club, Andrian, the $6 million debt that we just are incurring for some roads, we have to be careful not to over-leverage the town because we don't know what's going to happen with the economy, and we don't want to place an undue burden on the taxpayers. The last thing that I want to tell people, and in fact, what we're trying to do is tell them we got to increase your taxes because it's not only the town that we have to be considerate of, but the school corporation would understand, based on a report that my friend just provided, is probably going to be asking for a referendum to supplement some of their lost reserves. So we can't just think exclusively about the town. We got to think about the overall taxpayers. So that's my only comment.
Okay.
Might I add a little bit of information?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we could really raise taxes, but go ahead, Trista, just.
I agree with Clerk Treasurer January about being careful.
Sure.
In this particular situation, though, the tax that is already imposed and earns revenue last year, 10 years ago, as it was paying the last bond, is exactly the same tax that will be imposed this year, next year, and for the next 10 years. Instead of buying other equipment during that time with these funds, they'll be paying on the bond for these projects. And the fire department has been very careful to use this fund in that fashion. Build up some cash reserve, pay off some equipment in cash, and then also use some of that revenue to assign to a bond when they need to do a bigger project like this in a faster pace. But again, no taxes are being raised or added because of it. They're living within their means within this equipment fund that they have in place.
Sure. And I'm not just talking about the fire territory board. That's why I mentioned that. I'm just talking about overall.
Okay, thank you, Mr. January. Any comments from the council? Questions? Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
All right. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Is there any need to suspend rules tonight to read any of these on second reading? Mr. Svetnoff or Mr. Pettit? No?
I don't suggest we do so at this point.
Very good. Moving on tonight to BZA and large gathering actions. Ms. Shine.
Yes, Mr. President, we have two petitions this evening. Our first petition is Ricky Carr. Mr. Carr, would you approach the podium, please? He is the applicant and the owner is Chicago Capital LLC, and he's seeking special exception approval. Petitioner is seeking special exception approval to allow a boxing gym to relocate to 5476 Broadway in a C2 Community Commercial Zoning District on 3.463 acres. Petitioner submits that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the proposed special exception will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare because the patrons of this facility are taught discipline, structure, and leadership skills. Petitioner submits that the proposed special exception will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the other properties in the immediate vicinity for the purpose already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood, because patrons will have a daily routine they will follow, then go home afterwards. All activities will take place inside the gym. Therefore, approval of this request will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding properties. Adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and parking already exist. Members will have access to the facility through both the rear and the front of the building, in addition to off-street parking. Car boxing has been in business since 2015. Car boxing was previously located in Crown Point. Patrons as young as 7 years old and up can get fit and healthy and discover who they are and what they can do. Beginners, self-defense boxing, fitness, and amateur pro boxing competitions are the services offered. Cars Boxing provides mentorship to adults and children. Cars Boxing Gym provides a safe, protected, and engaging atmosphere while teaching a positive sport. The gym will be open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon, and closed on Sundays and Wednesdays. The fee schedule is $100 monthly for boxing fitness, $130 monthly for beginning boxing, and $150 monthly for amateur boxing. There are a total of 3 employees, and the petitioner advertises on social media. Car Boxing hopes that the Merrillville community will embrace and welcome the Car Boxing Gym for this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only.
Mr. Carr, tell us a little bit about your business and what you're going to be doing there.
That's mentoring kids, like you said, ages 7 and up, and adults in teenage years, you know. And like I said, we've been in business for 2015, and we do a lot of mentoring. We have special kids, you know, a lot of troubled kids that we work with. But our main goal is when we bring kids in and they sign up for boxing, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a professional boxer. You'll get the discipline, self-respect, motivation to carry out in the world. So that has been our goal for these many years. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of success stories. We have never had no issues with Car Boxing Gym. It's very respectful gym, but our main goals is to keep kids focused and to help them with their goals in life, so.
Great. Is this in the strip mall where you are,
Yes.
Sheila?
Is it next to the police substation? That's what it looked like in the
Next
pictures.
door.
Is it the end property?
No, right next to the Empire.
Okay.
So it's
Very
right
good.
next door to the substation.
Yes.
I have a question, Mr.
Go
Bello.
ahead.
President Bello, I'm sorry. You were located in Crown Point prior to here. Can I just ask why you're relocating from Crown Point to Merrillville?
We outgrown the place that we had. So we started off with a little small place, then we rented the next door to the place. So it's finding this place here and being able to combine it all in one, that's the reason.
So this location is larger than the one you had in Crown Point?
Yes.
Very good.
How many applicants do you have at this time?
Right now, we have 68.
How many?
Are you asking members?
Yes.
Yes, 68.
68? Okay, that's good.
Oh, wow, that's fine.
Mr. President, to Sheila, two questions. Were there any remonstrators at the BZA?
No, there were no remonstrators, and Mr. Carr met with Councilwoman Haynes before he added his petition, but there were no remonstrators.
And then I noticed on the conditions from the BZA, what about the camera ordinance?
The camera ordinance is there.
Is-
Yes,
it's
it's in
in-
the plaza.
Oh, it's already in the plaza?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you affiliated in any way with the YMCA?
No.
No? Thank you.
Just one last question for you. Would you be open only 3 hours a day, 5 days a week? How many participants will you have in that facility at one time?
Well, that varies because now the school year is getting ready to start. Summer, we have to make sure that we schedule everybody, but with the school year, again, you may have a total in one day, 20 people. So it really just depends on the parents, really, bringing their kids in.
And Mr. Carr, do you have more students than adults, or what's your ratio?
Yeah, it's more teenagers than adults, yes.
And are these at-risk teens or teenagers who just needed something extracurricular to do?
No, I mean, we do run across, but for what we have right now, no, these kids been with us for quite a many years with us. So, no, we have nothing with major issues, because normally when we bring people in, say for instance, for discipline or something dealing with the home or something like that, we sit down with the parents and stuff like that to get a better understanding if this is a good fit for their kid, so.
And can you let us know again how pickup goes as far as students being able to leave or enter your facility with it being in a plaza, what that looks like?
Well, everyone goes in, we don't have no activities outside, so once they do their workout, some is in there for maybe an hour, the fighters themselves may be in there from 5 to 8, so, but everyone understands, from what time they have to leave and the parents pick up, so.
And are they supposed to come in and pick them up, like a sign-in sheet, you buzz them in, buzz them out? What
We
does
have a
that look like?
sign-in sheet, yeah.
And you said students are not able to just walk out?
The kids, we make sure that the parents have to come in.
Okay.
And get them. So teenagers is a different story, because you got some teenagers that they drive their own vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Carr, how many employees do you have?
3.
3 employees?
Are you the trainer with the boxing?
I'm the owner and one of the coaches.
Okay, thank you.
So when they come in, they have to start out with me, learning the fundamentals.
Great. Eric, you want to go there with me? Take some boxing?
I would love to. We can box each other.
No violence. No violence. violence on the podium.
You mean in a
We are not choosing violence.
Rock'em sock'em.
We'll knock each other out.
Right.
All right, well, let's get this approved. And
I see a
need motion.
fundraiser coming for the town real soon.
Box with the clerk treasurer.
Box with the council.
I'm gonna work on the flyer.
Right.
Well, let's get this approved so we can do that, Mr. January.
All right.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Uselak, second by Counselor Shi. Oh, who
Chandler
was it?
Felton.
I didn't even think you were here tonight. Okay, Leona. Any questions or comments for Coach? Hearing no others. Roll call vote, please.
Sure. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Congratulations. Aye.
Welcome to town.
Seven in
Welcome to
favor.
town.
Thank you so much.
Eric and I will see you soon. Ms. Shine.
Yes, our next petitioner is Andrew Tyleka. Telka. I
Yeah,
messed
Telka.
it up. I'm sorry, Andy. He's the petitioner, and the owner is TBOB Commercial. Petitioner is seeking special exception approval from Section 21-136 to allow an automotive shop at 401 West 82nd Avenue to repair and paint vehicles for Amazon. Amazon is adding to their electrical delivery fleet on a regular basis, in addition to FedEx, DHL, and UPS adopting electrical vehicles. This leaves a huge gap in the market of no one being able to repair these sophisticated vehicles. Electrical vehicles require specific certification, safety equipment, extra tooling, and a building equipment. The vehicles are much larger and heavier, requiring heavy-duty lifts and oversized paint booths. In addition to repairing electrical vehicle, petitioner will be able to repair gas-powered fleet vehicles and offer local solutions to getting all vehicles back on the road in a speedy and safety way. The establishment, maintenance, or the operation of the proposed special exception will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. Approval of the request will not be injurious to those to use and enjoyment of the property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes of already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood, because all work are done in said location and will be performed during regular business hours. The hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and there will be 5 employees. Building improvements includes replacement of interior and exterior lighting, full office renovation, interior and exterior paint, floor epoxy paint, security camera system, and a lighted fenced-in lot. For this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only. Andy?
All right, good evening, council. How this happened was the business that the council approved last year. I opened a vehicle calibration center, which basically calibrates all the safety systems in vehicles after an accident. So we aren't just open to our own facilities, we service the market in the area for all collision facilities. And there is a huge need for that, so we actually were approached by electric vehicle manufacturers to be certified to calibrate their vehicles, such as Amazon. And then they were asking me, well, we actually have nowhere to actually repair these fleet vehicles, these electric fleet vehicles. Right now, they're all getting shipped to Illinois to be repaired because of the extensive training that needs to be involved. So actually, I went along with Rivian. Rivian's the one that actually makes all the Amazon electric vehicles. And we went around to all my shops in Indiana, in Indianapolis and Lafayette. We are looking at facilities. And we ended up actually coming up back to Merrillville at one of my calibration centers that got approved last year in Merrillville. And they said, why don't you put this repair center next door? You have the space, and it'd be convenient. Amazon down the street wants to utilize you guys for the repairs. And so that's how this journey began. And we would love to see if this works out in proof of concept, because right now my calibration business is now turned into a national model, and it would be really nice to turn this fleet repair business into a national model as well. So currently, right now, we are contracted with Amazon, and we're certified. We sent all our staff out to California and different parts of the states to get certified to calibrate and to do the repairs on the vehicles, which they have over, I think, 250 electric vehicles in their fleet with a 10% accident ratio. As well as now FedEx with their General Motor vehicles, and DHL and United States Postal Service. We're also talking with them about being able to do repairs on their electric vehicles as well. So it's not a normal body shop, just like our calibration center is not a normal business. Clean room, white epoxy floors. All the sanders have vacuums on it, so there's no dust particles. It's not what you would envision a body shop being. As well as we have a single paint booth, and that is an extra large paint booth, and that also abides by EPA standards, and we go above and beyond. We actually use a paint that's a waterborne paint, not a solvent-based paint. So I'm trying to think if anything else. A nice thing too about our facilities and having these repairs done under our roof is we are certified. So if somehow these vehicles get repaired at other facilities, they might not have the safety systems involved for electrocution in case there's a fire. There's so many different things that we've taken the precautions with our certification that we're required to do in our facility.
Great, thank you. Anything else from the council?
Can you put governors on the Amazon trucks, Andy? Because Joe and I, when they come out of Ameriplex, they're flying.
I'll pass that along.
Now, you're still,
Please do so.
you and your dad still own Tom and Ed's, right?
I solely own it.
Oh,
now,
you
yeah.
sold out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just have the one on Merrillville Road?
No, he solely owns it.
Oh,
I
you solely own it?
Yeah, I own it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, he got out of the business maybe 6 years ago.
Okay,
So yeah, still own the one in Merrillville, yes.
okay.
Great. Is there a motion from the council?
Motion to approve.
Second? Both of us.
Motion by Counselor Neal. Chair will recognize Counselor Shi for the second. For approval. Any additional conversations, discussion? Shine, anything else to add?
No, Mr. President.
Roll call vote.
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Good luck, Andrew. Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations.
I really appreciate it.
We have no old business before us tonight. New business, is there any new business before us? Moving on to public comment. Please approach the podium, state your name and address for a public comment.
How you doing?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. President, sir, Madam
evening.
Vice President, council members. My name is Eric Blackman, trustee of here of Ross Township, Indiana. My address is 7431 Wilson Place, located in Merrillville, Indiana. The reason I'm here this evening is to just want to ask a question for Mr. Swetnoff on paperwork that I submitted about 2 months ago for the easement property at 18 West 73rd Avenue, which is the fire station, which the township has control over the cell tower there.
Yes. Your attorney submitted the information to us. There's been a request to submit additional information. and we're supposed to get that additional information. Because you're expanding the easement area, we want to make sure that doesn't interfere with any other utilities.
We're not expanding anything, sir. We're not expanding anything. Only thing,
I suggest you have your attorney go
but
with me.
Joe, we did that. This been going on since May.
No, not really.
Yes, I have.
I just got the recent.
Guys,
Okay. I didn't come
this
here
is
for that.
not really the forum for you to be asking these inquiries. Why don't you talk to him after the meeting, you guys work it out?
I've been
okay.
trying to do that. That's why I
This
came
is
to the
for
council
public
meeting.
comment
Mr.
about things that happened here at the meeting.
Mr. President, sir.
Blackman.
Mr. President, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's why I came here, to address it.
Well, you're taking care of some township business with our town attorney, so.
It's not township business. It is township business, but I just want to know what's the holdup of something that's so simple.
But that has nothing to do with the town council. We have nothing to do with
I wanted to address it publicly. That's what I'm doing, okay?
Okay.
Maybe now, things can get rolling, okay? Thank you.
Well, I hope it does
Definitely
for
get
you.
rolling.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President,
Good evening.
town council members, town administrators, community members, and esteemed guests. My name is Maceo Rainey, and I serve as the Vice President for the Prairie Creek Homeowners Association located in that corridor of 73rd and Wickham. We're a small community. We normally vote as a block, but more importantly, we're Merrillville residents and taxpayers. What I love, Mr. President, about being Vice President of the Property Owners Association is that I get to host events Saturday nights in my backyard, on my patio, listening to the constituents of the community, especially in Ward 1 and the residents of our subdivision. And what we hear a lot in this conversation and dialogue revolves around the trash that's on the 73rd Street going south. We see everything from chicken dinner bones to dinette sets to mattresses out in the street. And it's just a bad look in terms of the trash that's in Merrillville. And on our side of the border, on 73rd going north, there is a reservoir of trash that I spoke on to this body a while ago. It's a trough of land that seems to be unkept on 73rd and Wickham, right before you get into our subdivision. We don't know if the bank owns it or a private company owns it or someone. Regardless of it, it's just not kept at all, and it's a reservoir for trash with the grass growing high and trash blown all in between. We hope that we can get some assistance from someone along the way. And we also talk about on the back porch the voting records of our elected officials at every level. And those voting records reflect the interests of our constituency. And then the most important part of our conversation that we have is home ownership, specifically in Merrillville, which leads me to my most important question I want to ask. Is there anyone specifically assigned a responsibility to promote home ownership in Merrillville? Because we firmly believe that so goes home ownership, so goes the town of Merrillville. And we have close to 8 homes in our subdivision right now that are empty. We're in phase 3 of our planning phase, which shows that we have more building to do, but we're concerned that we have empty homes. And I'm asking the council, if there's anyone within this body that's promoting home ownership, specifically in Merrillville. Not all at once.
No. Okay, I can't think of a
Well,
program.
we're just receiving your comments.
Sure.
That's what this
Yeah.
is for. It's not a Q&A. We engaged with Mr. Blackman. That was a different situation. So we have an entire planning and building department that addresses home ownership in Merrillville. We have an economic development committee. We talk about that all the time.
Okay.
All the time.
Well, I just want to go on record and read into the record our concern and our homeowners association about the promotion, the physical and the out loud promotion of home ownership in Merrillville. Whose responsibility? Who's driving the bus on that? What we can do to partner? Because again, we've got close to 8 to 10 homes in our subdivision that are empty, that need a strong family that stabilizes not only our community, but provide that type of stability for our community. Because again, so goes home ownership, so goes the town of Merrillville.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I believe a good public relations issue. I have a comment, should I make it here?
Whatever you want to do, Eric. Was it town-related? Okay.
It is.
Go ahead.
Good evening, my name is Sabina Miller, I'm at 3120 West 75th Place. So I have probably for these two gentlemen a question, and that is, I mean.
Well, speak up a little bit, please. We're
Yeah.
having a
You
hard
need
time.
to move the microphone down. There you go.
Okay, I have a question going into the hotel issue. So as property manager, I encounter quite a number of people in the Merrillville area who tell me that they are homeless, that they live in the hotels in Merrillville, and that after 30 days, they move out for a day or two, and then they move right back in where they came from. What kind of a loophole is, how long do they have to move out? Is it like one day, they gotta move out, and then they can move back in and stay another 30 days? What is the rule around that?
Yeah, we're working on fixing that, because that is a loophole, and it's happening more and more with the 30-day, and it's also some of the hotel owners that are collaborating together, they might go across the street for a couple weeks and come back, and they're all working together to.
Absolutely.
As Chief Yerga is saying, we've been addressing this issue. I know the fire inspector's been addressing this issue, and one of the hurdles that we do face is some of these hotel owners are not very forthcoming with information, and that's a big problem for us. So we're trying to come up with something different and something new, something more aggressive possibly. But it will be a definite challenge to try and confirm who is living at these hotels versus who's not. And this is an issue that we are all looking at, even police, fire, everybody.
Okay, thank you, because I'm assuming they also have to register, write their name in, et cetera, and
I'm sorry.
when they check into a hotel, just like we do, they have to be registered with name and address, et cetera.
Well,
So
and that's
it
up to
should
the,
be-
that's up to the owner, that's up to whoever's running the hotel, and are they keeping track of those?
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of times, they're probably not keeping track, they're not even creating a log of who they have, especially if it's probably something that's long-term. And again, we don't have there's no way that we can tell. There's no way we could force them to tell us.
All right. So the other item I have is, and I realized this was a hot-button item the whole week about the, whatever, buses. I didn't see any, but I saw the conversations, needless to say, on Facebook. So the two things that clearly came out of that is that there is some kind of an encampment behind the Home Depot decor store in that area. And there's a lot of trash, and somebody took a video of everything and the shopping carts and whatnot, and then trails leading into the back. And the other one seems to be as we're going from Route 30 onto I-65 going south.
Rena, that's.
Going south, so
That man's coming.
over towards the Red Roof Inn, there seems to be a secondary one. Now, my question, just one moment, okay. My question is, so we are looking at things that are not looking nice in the city. We're looking at trash, we're looking at, this gentleman trash at the big lot at 73rd. But we do know that that is pretty trashy too, so why don't we clean up that? And there seem to be people living in there, and that means to me, if there are no commodes and no bathrooms and no whatever, that this is a very unsanitary condition that is behind those bushes on that location.
Are you referring to the one by the old Kmart?
Yep, that's
Okay.
what they call
So
it.
that one right now, we're trying to get in contact with the owner to see who that is, so that we can get them to go there and clean it up and rip everything out of there. There's clothes back there. I've been through it myself. I was just there this morning, took pictures, and right now, there's nobody there.
Okay,
It's been occupied by several different people. We've managed to get them out of there, but what I am gonna do is, I'm trying to find out who the actual owner is, so we can get them out of there. so we can get that stuff out of there, right? So that, then there's no chance that somebody can return. If you eliminate their stuff, they're not gonna return, they're gonna find somewhere else to go, unfortunately, but we'll rid that problem. The second one that you're talking about behind,
Red Roof Inn.
behind Red Roof Inn, that came from a Google map that was generated probably years ago, right? We put our drone up. Every hotspot that we've had, we've been kind of looking around at, and we get permission from whoever it is that we can get permission from. We put our drone up, and we were able to see that that's just growth. There is some type of an old tarp. There is nobody that's living there. So there's a lot of these areas where we are finding garbage, but one of the obstacles that would be how to get back there to clean it up, because you can't get, it's marshy in a lot of the areas. That's stuff that's been there for a long time, and unfortunately, we can't really see it because of the overgrowth, right? But there is nothing there. That was one of the areas. We have several that we're still looking at. We've been doing it daily. I was out myself today, and I was actually making contact with some of these people and identifying them. And we have, we don't, it's not it's like, it's one of those deals where we know it's going on, but it's not out of control, I guess is what I want to put it at.
Chief, is this between the Red Roof and the Hampton Inn?
Yes.
That's our
behind it.
retention pond. That's the town's retention pond that Matt's rebuilding.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people would be out in our retention pond.
Yeah, there's nobody out there. It's an old tarp.
He's got a gate on Georgia Street.
Yeah.
Matt put up a gate so people wouldn't go into the retention pond.
It's further east. It's behind, so it's like it's an old tarp.
Lamar has a billboard on that property. We pay the town a land rental for that retention pond to have the billboard on I-65.
Sure.
So that's how we get back there to change the copy on it.
Yeah. Yeah, the area that was in question, it's an old tarp it's been there for years because the growth is so much.
Yeah, maybe we need to, if you wouldn't mind, talk to Matt and Joe.
Okay.
Fish and see what we can find out back there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Christine Chaya, and I live at 1311 West 61st Avenue. The first thing I would like to say to the board, administration, everybody, the people you hire to do the 61st Avenue job were outstanding. Please use them again. The job they did on the whole 61st Avenue project was amazing, and you guys get a lot of slack, but I got to give you kudos where kudos is due. Now, again, the hot button issue is the buses. There were people that did physically lay eyes on those buses. They were here. There were people that physically did lay eye on the people on the buses. Let's just say their status or whoever they are is in question. And then the third thing about the buses and whatnot are the alleged encampments. There are allegedly homeless people here in our county and within our town limits. My concern is we don't want that growing, right? We're all in agreement? Nobody wants to see these people, spread out within our town limits and create garbage, human waste, which carries diseases. Does the town or the police department have a plan of action to, you just read off a whole list of ordinances for everything under the sun. Could ordinances be made that, you're not allowed to live in a tent in the weeds in Merrillville? That way people can be told to leave if let's have some compassion on these people. There's funds to give to organizations who really have their own funding and their own money. Can we take some of those funds, give them a one-time push out the door, put them on a bus, send them somewhere else, sanctuary cities, anything? Nobody wants to see our beautiful town turn into San Francisco. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm here to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
You guys we hire you and pay you the big bucks. Can something be done about this?
Okay, so to be sure, it's not big bucks, but, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Any other public comment?
Brian Messarch, 201 East 68th Place. I want to publicly support the data center concept. I was in the meeting yesterday. It's an awesome economic thing. I have a slight problem with the first reading, only reading thing. I wasn't notified about the planning commission because the policy is only people whose property is adjacent to something gets notified. Now we have a due process issue because now tax-paying residents aren't being notified of things that are happening. So people don't know, oh, hey, this is going on at this meeting. You need to come and give your public comment. We need to address whatever the procedural issue is there. The issue with this hot button thing with the homelessness / immigrants, and I appreciate Chief kind of dancing around the illegal alien, illegal immigrant, but let's not worry about the words that we're using because the first word, illegal, that's the important word. They should not be here, period. They're illegal. And to say, oh, it's from up above people aren't, no, it's right here in our town. We need to address it. We need to have a plan because otherwise all of us are gonna have to worry about protecting ourselves instead of worrying about having to call the police, because if the police can't do anything about it, and the police chief is saying that we can't do anything about it, that's a problem. Now it's, sorry, you guys are on your own, take care of it. We can't have that. We need to be able to have the issue, and part of the issue is this, is homelessness is just as much, because now you can't tell the difference between whatever the words are that we want to call these people, because we don't know where they're from, we don't know what they're doing, and the fact of the matter is they might be down on their luck, but desperate people can be dangerous people, and when pushed to the limit, dangerous or desperate people can do dangerous things, and we need to be considerate of that, and since we don't have a plan, we need to have a plan to address that. That way we can all say, hey, we're working on this. Let's get some ideas together and let's make this happen. There was already, Ms. Chaha already had a couple of good ideas. That's what we need to do. Our message needs to be clear that, hey, we're gonna get a plan together. Let's work the plan. Let's involve the police. Let's involve the fire. Let's involve the residents. To be honest with you, the way the data center thing commission with all the residents and everything and the input, that was beautiful. That was absolutely the way it should work. We could address issues like that more often if we work together. That way, everyone's nerves are nice and calm and we are all informed and we don't have to worry about who's telling what conspiracy. So we should think about that. Thank you.
Sheila, real quick, I want to clarify something though. At the Plan Commission level and BZA level, we advertise these meetings through the newspapers, correct?
Yes.
So there's public hearing notice that goes out. So that is a due process non-issue. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Hey, I'm Steve Solomon, a Merrillville resident, and I think Chief Nusis here has cleared up a lot of questions that I have about the illegal immigrant issue. I did some investigation myself on a couple of these encampments, and looked like it was more or less homeless at one time, and I don't know how long they've been. I didn't see any bodies. I took my dog too to sniff around, and we didn't really see any food or anything like that. But my question that's still outstanding is Lake County a sanctuary county?
No, they're not.
No.
Okay, because I've done a couple of Google searches, which led me to believe that they were. And East Chicago had to fight to get rid of their status or something to that effect. And I learned something here today from Chief Nusis that there are verified illegal immigrants. It's not just a conspiracy theory. And the way things are on the south side of Chicago, I don't really want them coming here. But I guess if we don't have sanctuary status, we don't have to worry too much about that. Anyways, I really came to raise awareness and to nip this in the bud, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Oh, Mr. January.
Sure. Final point that I mentioned previously. I bought the property at 7430 Broadway. It was used as a banquet hall, a bar, and they use it as their offices. I was surprised to find out that I would have to apply for a special exemption to use the building for what it was previously used for. And I had no problem with paying the $250 fee because that's what the town needs to operate and make sure we know who's in what place. But for me to get a $675 bill to advertise this, I believe that's an unnecessary burden on business owners, and I believe it hinders progress. I'm using the building exactly for what it was previously used for. I believe that we need to address the ordinance so that if somebody bought a building from someone else and it's being used exactly as it was previously, they should not have to go through this advertising process and basically support the Northwest Indiana Times or the Post-Tribune or whoever, because it's just a waste of dollars. I could buy another TV with that.
Okay, thank you. Sheila, we do that for what? For just keep control of who's operating businesses in town, right? So
Right.
approvals are for that petitioner only, at that location only,
Yes,
all the time. That's how we've done it for 52
Yes.
years, as far as I know.
yeah, well, it's been a while. That's the way we do it, so that we can keep track of who's the owner and who's
Right.
going in and what kind of business that they're doing, especially businesses that serve the public. If it was just a retail establishment or office establishment, that's a permitted use, but businesses that serve the public, the town has to know, because we have to answer to the police department, we have to answer to the fire department, and of course to the council.
Anybody that comes in for a special exception
That's right.
has to advertise under Indiana law, correct?
Right, yes.
So it's not the town imposing that, it's the state imposing that.
It's a,
So we need a change in legislation if we're gonna change that, correct?
Yes.
This is not the town what I'm talking, this is not the state what I'm talking about. This is a town ordinance that's requiring me and other businesses to have to apply for something that the building is already used for.
Process under Indiana code.
No, we're talking about town ordinance. This is not Indiana code, because other towns don't require this. If you buy a restaurant and it was a Red Lobster and you want to put Outrigger Steakhouse there in Orland Park or in any other towns in Indiana, you do not have to apply to make it a seafood restaurant because it's already a restaurant. That's something that we have that's in
It all depends on the
Merrillville.
timeframe that's involved, Mr. January. So I'd love to talk about.
Yeah, we can talk about it later. I just wanted to make it publicly because the debate is on. Let's go.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second? That's me.
Aye.
Aye.
Second by Chris Leona.